Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the real distance to the moon. A conspiracy theorist by the name of Richie from Boston uploaded a video. In the YouTube video, they claimed that NASA is lying to us about the distance to the moon. The moon is, at its furthest, 252,088 miles from Earth, and at its closest is 225,623 miles away. It takes about 3 days for a spacecraft to get there, or so we're told. Richie uploaded a sensational video to YouTube claiming it is only 4.7 miles away from Earth. He claimed to have used a normal digital camera to zoom in on the moon. He says that NASA is lying about the real distance and that he estimates it to be mere miles. He said, "I can zoom in more on the moon than I can on a building that I can see with my naked eye." Right. Why exactly NASA would be lying about the size and distance of the moon? Well, he doesn't get that far. Coming into number 9, astronauts wear diapers. Think being an astronaut would be the coolest job in the world? I do, although apparently they wear huge adult diapers and have to relieve themselves in them. This urban legend is actually true. NASA astronauts are issued with maximum absorbency garments. It seems that back in the day, astronauts had to wee and poop themselves when they needed to go. These days they are mainly used for urination, but they are comforting to astronauts who aren't sure when they can make it back to their spacecraft. Coming into number 8, we have the Great Wall of China. Okay, so this isn't so much a scary urban legend, but this is one of the most popular urban legends surrounding NASA. A lot of people think that you can see the Great Wall of China from space, but it turns out you can't really. You can, however, in low orbit, see the Hoover Dam. The rumor comes from a book written by Richard Halliburton in 1938, in which he said that astronomers theorized that the Great Wall was the only man-made object visible from the moon. You'll note that the date of this was actually long before NASA went to the moon. Somehow the idea stuck. Coming into number 7, we have Nixon's death speech. On the 20th of July 1969, President Nixon made the longest distance phone call ever at the time. He called the astronauts up on the moon. He called the Apollo 11 astronauts to congratulate them for the moon landing. However, it seems he wasn't all that confident the NASA team would make it. According to his former speechwriter William Safire, an emergency broadcast had been scripted in the event that the mission failed. This speech was leaked some 30 years later. It read, "Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace. These brave men, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin, know that there is no hope for their recovery, but know that there is hope for mankind in their sacrifice." Apparently it continued with some bodies on the moon imagery. Scary. Coming in at number 6, we have sperm in space. Is NASA blowing its load all over space? What does that even mean? According to the internet, in April 2018, NASA sent humans and bull sperm to the International Space Station. It seems that the experiment is actually true. NASA wants to see how weightlessness affects sperm. Why? Well, they didn't give a full reason for that. A lot of people are saying it's because they're preparing for the apocalypse and they want to see whether or not humans can reproduce in space. In 1998, it was found that aquatic invertebrates were able to reproduce in space, but it is thought that babies born in space would develop a whole host of issues from a lack of gravity. Coming into number 5, we have Anonymous. In 2018, Anonymous released a video saying that NASA knew about intelligent alien life. The hacktivist said that there is something going on in the skies above. A NASA spokesman, Thomas Zurbuchen, was reported to have said the following: "Taking into account all of the different activities and missions that are searching for alien life, we are on the verge of making one of the most profound, unprecedented discoveries in history." Anonymous since removed the video, and NASA denied any knowledge of intelligent life. What's going on? What is the real reason that NASA hasn't gone back to the moon since the 1970s? Why did nobody ever set foot on the dark side? Could it be this at number 4? We have the ghostly moon music. The astronauts on the Apollo 10 mission passed around the moon, and when they were at the farthest side away, the dark side, they lost all radio contact with the ground control. As Apollo careered around the moon, they heard some really weird sounds that couldn't have been coming from their radio. They were so weird that the astronauts talked about it constantly. The sounds weren't reported at the time, but they were recorded and received by NASA when the mission returned to Earth. Now, these recordings were classified, which means that they were being safeguarded from human ears. Why? We just aren't sure. In 2008, they were declassified, and you can hear the recordings. Now, if you read the transcript, you can see a big conversation about the weird woo noises. What were they? Coming into number 3, we have the white flags. It is said that all of the flags left by astronauts on the moon, a total of 6 American American flags have all turned white. It was said that the initial flag planted by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin fell over when Apollo 11 mission took off on its return. Despite that, all of the other 5 flags are present and correct and standing up tall and proud, although eerily, they've all turned white. Why? Well, because the moon doesn't have the same atmosphere as Earth and doesn't filter out UV rays in the same way. Some people highlight the creepy irony here. The moon was planted with American flags, but you can't tell what country the flags belong to anymore. Is this because you can't lay claim to the moon? Maybe. Coming in at number 2, astronauts go mad in space, and NASA doesn't like to admit it. There's a lot to be said about mental health and space. Spending days, sometimes weeks, or even months on end in the darkness is a scary prospect. Life isn't the same up in a shuttle. Not only does it take intense physical training to go up into space, it also takes a lot of mental focus. Dr. Patricia Santi, a psychiatrist who has worked with NASA employees, criticized the space agency for denying behavioral issues. She suggested that actually they needed to do further screenings for mental health issues prior to and following space travel. In 2007, former astronaut Lisa Nowak, who worked on the International Space Station, was arrested for attempted murder. She then pleaded insanity and depression in court. Now, does this have anything to do with her time in space? Some people certainly think so. Finally, coming into number 1 of our top 10 scary NASA urban legends part 2, we have the alien signals. For the last decade, scientists have been picking up unexplained radio signals that they call fast radio bursts from deep space. So the signals have actually ranged in frequency, but the most recent are 580 MHz, that's 200 lower than the previously heard. The latest sounds detected come from very, very far away, possibly billions of light years away. So I've got an example of some of the radio signals for you here. Have a little listen, and especially when the thudding kicks in, it's really weird. Scientists honestly don't know where the sounds are coming from, but they are trying to pinpoint them. A lot of people are saying that NASA knows where the signals are coming from and are involved in some kind of elaborate cover-up. Do NASA know what is living billions of light years away? Honestly, I don't think so.
Starting us off at number 10 is the NASA hoax. Now, there's actually a legitimate theory out there that is dead set on the fact that NASA itself is just a lie. The theory suggests NASA's whole function is just to generate space-related hoaxes instead of actual space exploration. It backs that statement by saying that the moon landing was staged and that all the pictures we have of Mars, Earth, and even Pluto are simply CGI. I actually read a stat somewhere that 6% of America's population believe the moon landing was staged, and considering how large their population is, that is a lot of people. In reality though, NASA was formed back in 1958 to provide for research into problems of flight within and outside the Earth's atmosphere and for other purposes. What the hell does other purposes mean? You tell me. Coming in at number 9 is Nibiru. Now, this planet was first mentioned back in 1976 in a book titled The 12th Planet. In it, the author had included his translation of ancient Sumerian cuneiform and claimed that the text was proof that there is a planet beyond Neptune. This 12th planet called Nibiru apparently orbits the sun every 3,600 years, so I'm probably not going to be able to debunk this one in my lifetime. Now, apparently years after the book was published, psychic Nancy Lieder claimed that she had some sort of communication with extraterrestrials who told her that Nibiru would crash into Earth in 2003. That clearly didn't happen, and the date was moved to 2012 and continued to be delayed. NASA scientists like David Morrison are sick and tired of having to debunk the Nibiru doomsday theory, as the planet simply doesn't even exist. The organization assumed it would just be a passing internet fad, but they were wrong, and to be fair, after writing this video, I have major trust issues with NASA, so I don't even know if I believe them with this one. At number 8, we have the UFO sighting. So back in 2015, NASA was accused of abruptly stopping their live feed from the ISS just as a UFO came into sight. Now, it's hard to tell, but a tiny grey circular object rises and then disappears in the footage right before the cutoff. I mean, it could also totally not be a UFO, but it's still an unidentified flying object, so make of that what you will. Dr. Brian O'Leary, an ex-NASA astronaut, said there's abundant evidence that we're being contacted and that civilizations have been visiting us for ages. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the 6th person on the moon, said there has been crashed craft and bodies recovered, but that NASA has just never made that information public because it would cause too much chaos. I mean, thankfully, the one good good thing that's come out of 2020 is the confirmation that aliens do exist and have landed on Earth before, so I mean NASA has no leg to stand on at this point. Filling our number 7 slot is The Secret. So we all know about Neil Armstrong setting foot on the moon and the whole leap for mankind spiel, but that wasn't the full story, and apparently NASA never wanted us to know the full story either. According to Maurice Chatelain, the retired chief of NASA communications system, Armstrong saw things when he got off the spacecraft. Seconds before he stepped down the ladder, he saw 2 massive UFOs hovering above him, and Edwin Aldrin even took pictures of them. That was followed by 2 minutes of radio silence because one of the television cameras overheated and then lost reception. During those 2 minutes, there was a critical lost transmission, and that was Armstrong saying, "These babies were huge, sir, enormous. Oh God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecraft out here, lined up on the far side of the crater's edge. They're on the moon watching us." That statement was never made public. It was never even included in any of the records, and he refused to talk about it till his death. Thankfully, enough people had corroborated the evidence that we do know it to be true. I love how this massive part of history has this whole other side to it, and then we just didn't get told it. I'm angry. I'm annoyed, but I wish NASA had told us because that's just shocking. Now, at number 6 are the moon landings. Come on guys, it's a NASA video, you knew I was going to talk about it. 1969 was a great year for the US in regards to the space race it was in with the Soviet Union. It was great because that was the year the US landed on the moon, or so NASA claimed. Between 1969 and 1972, 12 NASA astronauts walked on the moon, but the public weren't too convinced that it was real. Many theories claim that the whole Apollo program was staged, with questions arising like, where are the stars in any of the moonwalkers' photos? Where are they? How, in a vacuum-like space, were the US flags fluttering? Why can we see a ton of footprints on the surface of the moon, but zero evidence or marks of any lunar modules actually landing? NASA responded to the claim saying that there were no stars in the sky because the bright glow on the surface of the Earth washed them out. For the flags, metal wires were sewn into them so they could be straight instead of flopping down. But then wouldn't a wire make them rigidly straight, not fluttering? Just saying. Coming in at number 5 is the Millennium Falcon, not to be confused with the one in Star Wars, but I see how you'd make that mistake. Sadly, Han Solo is not in the story, but I hope he was. Also, to sidetrack, I watched the Solo movie a month ago and I quite enjoyed it, and I want to know what you guys think of it if you have seen it, so tell me below. Anyway, while watching the ISS NASA live feed back in 2016, Jaden Beeson said he saw a metal spaceship. He said the UFO that he saw seemed similar to the Millennium Falcon found in the movie, so he realized he definitely needed to take a screenshot to prove what he was seeing. The metal craft had a blue glow to it and stayed hovering above Earth for approximately 2 minutes. And it's very clear to see it's not even a small craft by any means. Either way, Jaden sent the image to NASA so they could explain or debunk what he was seeing, but he has not got any explanation or response back, and it's been 4 years since he sent the message, which makes the whole thing even that much more suspicious. Are all these craft just hovering above Earth, communicating with NASA and then going away? What is the organization trying so desperately to hide from us? I must know. At number 4 is the Alien Space Station. This theory was put forward by Scott C. Waring, and he claims that he found 2 photos that were posted on the NASA Image Atlas that have since been deleted. According to him, the pictures showed proof that the moon isn't a satellite planet, it's actually an alien space station. The surface of the moon is uneven and covered in debris as a cover to make it seem like a celestial body, when in actual fact there's a point on the planet that opens up like a gate and lets spacecraft come in and out. NASA went ahead and dismissed his claims completely without even giving their own reasoning. Maybe they just thought it was so ridiculous they didn't have to comment on it, or maybe it was so close to the truth they didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. Who knows? Filling at number 3 slot is the Illuminati. I feel like without fail on any list of theories we do on the channel, the Illuminati somehow always ends up being on it, and this list is no exception. This theory claims that NASA was entirely constructed by the Illuminati for the Illuminati. The theories are already rife that the Illuminati control the world on the low, from the music industry to the people in power to even the huge businesses that monopolize the market. Remember when everyone thought Lady Gaga and Rihanna had sold their souls to the Illuminati? 2008 was wild, I'm not gonna lie, you guys. Now, the organization created NASA because they wanted to be the first ones to know about any and all new updates regarding space. Whether that meant contact from foreign spacecrafts or contact from extraterrestrials themselves, they had to know it all, since I guess they do control the Earth apparently. Now at number 2 is the dark side. Another theory put forward by Scott C. Waring was that the dark side of the moon houses an alien city. He came to that conclusion after heavily analyzing a picture of the Giordano Bruno crater that lies on the dark side. At 14 miles wide, he claimed he found damaged structures structures in and around it that could very well be 100 million years old. Some had reflective roofs and others straight up looked like spacecrafts. NASA again went and debunked this, claiming objects seen on the moon are literally just mind tricks or part of the psychological phenomenon called pareidolia. Pareidolia refers to someone's incorrect tendency to see objects and patterns in things like clouds and the moon, apparently. And finally, at number 1 is the Alien Partnership. Now, when we think of alien activity on Earth, our minds immediately go to Area 51, and I mean, I get it, why wouldn't they? But according to this theory, NASA is actually the hub of all alien activity, and that's not surprising. They visit space the most and have some of the best high-tech equipment on Earth. It goes on to say that some space missions have had both humans and extraterrestrials aboard, and that's how close their partnership has gotten. Apparently, NASA contacted aliens a long time ago and has seen and discovered a lot more than it's ever going to make public, which I feel like is sad to share. We want to know too what is out there.
Coming in at number 10, NASA is hiding alien life on Mars. This is a classic and long-held conspiracy belief. For a long time, tin hat theorists have had theories about what is going on our neighboring red planet and have accused NASA of knowing more than they let on. In the 1970s, NASA sent probes Viking 1 and Viking 2 to study Martian soil, then rovers Spirit and Opportunity to Mars. While everything they found hasn't been released to the public, we do know quite a lot. The theories out there range from mustache twiddling sounding to wacky whack whack. Sometimes I just make sounds instead of saying words. The milder suggestions are that NASA are hiding alien fossils up there. Others say that they're purposefully avoiding looking for life. Others have gone full throttle and have accused NASA of hiding a race of alien human half-breeds up there for the past 40 years. Coming in at number 9, we have the boombox. So word of mouth has it that a NASA engineer has developed a specialist piece of equipment to battle the rising threat of terrorism, and it was being tested out at an airport in Israel. The legend says that NASA tech was used to create a specialist scanner that would detonate any explosive that was within it. So in practice, anyone suspected of wearing a suicide vest could be put in the upright scanning booth, and if they were innocent, they would be fine, but if they had any explosives on them, then they would be detonated in the sealed cell. Snopes have looked into this one, and I'll let you guess what they found. Coming in at number 8, we have the quarantine. It is widely believed that NASA has a strict protocol for people who come into contact with aliens. It is thought that those who report seeing aliens are visited by special secret agents before they leak their news stories. Why? Well, apparently NASA wants to keep us in the dark when it comes to alien life. Conspiracy theorists who believe this often cite the small print of Title 14 Section 1211 of the Code of Federal Regulations. And this actually does say that NASA has the power to quarantine anyone that comes into contact with people or objects returning from space. This is allegedly a safety measure that came to pass in the Apollo 11 era. Although the truth has been manipulated a bit, it makes sense to quarantine people returning from space if they've been outside of their spaceships, because space materials such as moon dust, for example, could contaminate the Earth and mess with our ecosystem. This is of course just a biological precaution, but there are some people out there who have taken this to mean that Men in Black are coming for you if you so much as see errant lights in the sky. Side note, I really loved Men in Black. I don't think they should remake it, but I'm definitely up for another movie screening of it. Has it been 20 years yet? Must have been. Coming into number 7, we have the Secret Shuttle. I have to say that this one is a bit of a mystery. It's pretty suspicious. NASA has allegedly had a secret space shuttle in orbit for the past 2 years. What it is up to, we simply don't know, but it has been spotted on a number of occasions by people with long exposure lenses. It is said that the craft, an X-37B, was launched from Elon Musk's SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket at NASA's Kennedy Space Station in Florida. We know that the USA largely considers space a national security risk, so perhaps these secret orbit missions have something to do with that. Coming into number 6, we have the UFO live stream. On July the 9th, 2016, NASA was live streaming from the International Space Station when 2 mysterious unidentified flying objects were spotted flying in the background. Weirdly, the stream was cut just as the objects were spotted. YouTube channel StreetCap1 uploaded a video about it, suggesting that it could have been proof of alien life and that NASA didn't want us to see it. NASA spokesman Daniel Holt told CBET that actually the live stream was not cut deliberately, it was just a coincidence. Or was it? A lot of alien conspiracy theorists have taken this as evidence that the truth is out there, but NASA do not want us to know about it. The fact that we haven't solved world hunger, national poverty divides, or even local disadvantage makes this one pretty scary. Coming in at number 5, we have the $1 billion ballpoint pen. A pen that works in space is actually a lot harder to come by than it sounds. It seems that ballpoint pens don't work in space, and pencils aren't great either as they break, and tiny bits of lead just aren't great for floating around in spaceships. The story goes that NASA thought it was truly integral to be able to write in space, so they spent millions of dollars creating a pen that works at zero gravity in cold conditions. These days, with inflation, that figure is said to be $12 billion. That makes it the world's most expensive pen in history. This is crazy because I write for a living, but I haven't touched a pen in months. It seems that there is a shred of truth to this legend. NASA stocked its astronauts with a pen patented by Paul C. Fisher. Now, he invested $1 million of his own money into it, but that doesn't make for such a fun tale. You can actually buy a 50th anniversary edition of said pen, perfect for those planning a trip to space this year. Coming into number 4, we have the fake moon landing. Time and time again, NASA have been accused of faking the moon landing, and if that were true, it would be so scary, not least because of the whole lying to the whole world thing. Why? Why would the moon landing have been faked? What reason would they have for doing this? Well, apparently the reasoning behind the widespread conspiracy is that the United States wanted to win the Cold War, but honestly, winning the space race to the moon was kind of risky. It kind of stoked the fire a little bit. Theorists say that the whole thing was filmed in a studio and that NASA and the American government wanted to manipulate minds of the world into believing the USA was the greatest country. Basically, it was one very expensive piece of propaganda. How far would the government go to get people to believe the lie? Well, again, according to theorists, the CIA and NASA were involved in destroying evidence and murdering witnesses. Do I believe this? No, I don't. But if it were true, then it would be one of the greatest lies and biggest cover-ups of all time. Coming into number 3, we have aliens during the moon mission. While the majority of people do admit that NASA did manage to get to space and land on the moon, a lot of people think that they haven't been honest about what they found. Rumour has it that during the Apollo 10 mission, astronauts heard alien music as they orbited the dark side of the moon, and others say that Buzz Aldrin spotted alien activity during the Apollo 11 moon landing mission. The astronaut himself has since denied it. Coming into number 2, NASA wouldn't tell us if we were doomed. Or so they say. NASA knows a lot more than we do when it comes to the fate of our planet. Face it. The average human has never looked through a telescope, let alone had the ability to understand and monitor what's going on around our planet for thousands and thousands of light years. We know that a supervolcano could erupt and devastate countries and states, a tsunami could sweep an ocean village away forever, a tornado could rip through the heart of a country, etc, etc. But we only know about these things because we're told in advance. Without being told in advance, we would only find out when it was too late. The same thing goes for asteroids and astronauts and flying bits of space junk, or even wilder, alien invasions. NASA would know about life-altering asteroid collisions long before it happened, and while it's likely that something would be assembled to try and stop it, belief has it that the space organization would not tell us if we were doomed for fear of inciting panic or anarchy. Finally, coming into number 1, NASA is creating a black hole that will kill us all. We know that black holes exist out there in space, but the nearest one to us is thousands of light years away. Because we know so little about black holes and what happens on the other side of them, there are scientists out there trying to replicate the conditions on Earth. It seems that this possibly could be done using the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider. Hearsay and rumour have it that NASA are trying to make a black hole using the 17-mile-long collider, and if they did, the world could be sucked into a giant vacuum of nothingness. In actuality, NASA have nothing to do with the collider. It's a project by CERN, the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. Also, guys, you can sleep safely for now. The collider project is on hiatus for 2 years.